She asked him to carry her upstairs. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. He hesitated for a second before lifting her. The moment his hands touched her, the entire house fell into an unnatural silence. And in that silence, he felt something was terribly wrong. He arrived in the morning. The sky was pale, almost washed out. The house in front of him looked perfect. Too perfect. Clean walls. Straight lines. No noise from inside. Not even birds around it. Just silence. Heavy silence. The kind that doesn't feel natural. A man at the gate didn't speak. He simply opened it and stared at him, long enough to make it uncomfortable. Then looked away. That was his first warning. But he didn't understand it yet. Inside, everything was organized. Too organized. People were moving around. But without sound. No laughter. No talking. Only footsteps that barely existed. He noticed something strange immediately. No one looked at him directly. Not fully. Eyes would meet his for half a second. Then shift away. Like looking too long was forbidden. Or dangerous. A man passed by carrying boxes. He stopped. For a moment. Completely still. No blinking. No breathing movement. Just frozen. Then suddenly, he continued walking like nothing had happened. Like that moment never existed. He felt a strange chill, but he ignored it. He had no reason not to. Not yet. He was taken inside a large hall. Empty chairs. Perfect spacing. Every object aligned. A woman stood near the far wall. She didn't move. Didn't speak. Just looked forward. Like she was waiting for something that hadn't arrived yet. Or something that had already happened too many times. A voice finally came from behind him. Follow instructions. Don't ask questions. Short. Flat. Final. He turned, but no one was there anymore. Just empty space. Like the voice had never existed. He was given a task. Simple. Carry items from one room to another. Nothing unusual. At least, that's what it looked like. He nodded and started working. But after a few minutes, he noticed it. Every room felt slightly different. Not in design, but in feeling. Some rooms were colder. Some felt watched. And in one room, he swore he heard breathing, even though no one was inside. He tried to ignore it. But the silence was starting to feel heavier. Not empty. Controlled. Like the house was listening. Not with ears, but with something else. Then it happened again. Another man walking nearby suddenly stopped. Mid-step. Completely frozen. Like time forgot him. A few seconds passed. Then he moved again. Normal. Like nothing had happened. No one reacted. No one even noticed. Except him. That was the moment he realized something important. This place didn't break rules. It erased moments. He looked around again. The perfect house didn't feel perfect anymore. It felt rehearsed. Like everyone was following a script they couldn't see. And he was the only one who didn't know his lines yet. As he stepped deeper inside the house, he felt it. That same strange pressure, like something was watching him learn. Quietly, patiently. And somewhere in the distance, a woman stood completely still, watching him, not moving, not blinking, just waiting. The next morning came, but it didn't feel like morning. There was no sunlight shift, no natural rhythm, just a sudden continuation of silence. Like the night never ended properly. He woke up in a shared room. Others were already standing. Ready. Silent. Waiting. No one spoke. No one asked why. They just knew what to do. That was the first thing that disturbed him. People here didn't need instructions twice. A bell rang. Not loud. Not sharp. Just enough to signal obedience. Everyone moved at once. Perfect timing. Perfect coordination. Like they were connected by something invisible. He followed. Of course he did. He had no reason not to. Not yet. They were lined up in the main hall. A man stood in front. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't need to. His presence already felt like authority. He looked at them, one by one, slowly, deliberately, like he was checking for something invisible. Then he spoke. Rules are simple. Pause. Don't question. Don't stop. Don't observe longer than necessary. Another pause. And never interrupt silence. The last line felt heavier than the rest. Like it wasn't a rule. It was a warning. Someone at the back shifted slightly. Just a small movement, barely noticeable. But the room reacted. Not people, not voices. Something else. The air itself felt tighter. The man in front turned his head slowly. The person who moved froze instantly. Not by command, not by fear, but like their body forgot how to continue. A few seconds passed. Then they resumed, like nothing had happened, like they had been reset. He felt something inside him tighten. This wasn't discipline. This was conditioning. Something deeper, something repeated. After the briefing, they were assigned tasks. He was sent to different sections of the house. Cleaning, carrying, organizing. Simple work. But nothing felt simple here. Every corridor felt slightly off. Every door felt like it led somewhere it shouldn't. At one point, he passed a mirror. He stopped, not because he wanted to, but because something felt wrong. His reflection looked normal, but the delay wasn't. It moved half a second late. He blinked, looked again. Normal. He told himself it was imagination, but the feeling didn't leave. Then he saw her again, the woman from the first day, standing near a corridor. Same position, same stillness. But this time, she looked at him directly. No avoidance, no hesitation, just focus. He slowed down, almost instinctively. She tilted her head slightly, like she was recognizing something, or remembering something. You're adjusting faster than expected. Her voice was soft, but clear. He stopped. You spoke, he said without thinking. She didn't react, just stared at him, like he had said something unnecessary. No one speaks here unless required. She said it calmly, then added, but you're already noticing too much. That line stayed in his mind longer than it should have. Noticing too much, as if awareness itself was dangerous. Before he could respond, footsteps approached. She immediately turned away, back to stillness. Perfect control, like the conversation never existed. A supervisor passed by. Didn't look at either of them, but the moment he crossed, the woman's presence changed again. Empty, silent, reset. And that's when he understood the second rule wasn't spoken. It was enforced. Silence wasn't just required, it was maintained. That night he couldn't sleep properly. Every sound in the room felt too precise. Breathing, movement, even blinking felt noticeable. And somewhere in the dark, he realized something terrifying. The rules weren't there to control behavior. They were there to control awareness. Because the moment you notice too much, the house notices you back. That morning felt different. Not because anything changed, but because something was already gone. He just didn't know what yet. The routine started as usual. Standing line, silent waiting, controlled movement. But this time, he was watching more carefully. Too carefully, he couldn't stop himself. People passed by like before. Same faces, same empty rhythm. But now he noticed details. A blink that lasted too long. A step that repeated slightly. A pause in breathing that felt artificial. It wasn't normal. It never had been. He was just finally seeing it. Then it happened. The woman again. Same corridor, same stillness. But this time, she wasn't just standing. She was waiting. For him. He stopped. Without realizing, their eyes met. And for the first time, nothing broke. No reset. No looking away. No correction. Just direct contact. Something shifted in her expression. Not fear, not surprise, recognition. Like she had been waiting for this exact moment. You're starting to notice, she said softly. He didn't respond immediately. His mind was slow, heavy, like thinking itself had resistance here. Notice what? He finally asked. She looked at the floor for a second, then back at him. The pattern. A silence followed, but this silence was different. Not empty, tense, alive. He glanced around. No one reacted to them. No interruption. No enforcement. That alone felt wrong. People don't behave normally here, he said quietly. She didn't deny it. That was worse. She agreed without saying yes. Instead, she stepped closer. Not fully, just enough to lower her voice. You saw the freeze yesterday? He nodded slowly. That wasn't a mistake. His stomach tightened. What was it then? She hesitated, just for a second. That second mattered. A reset, she said. Simple, clean, terrifying. He frowned. Reset? She nodded. Moments that don't fit are removed. A chill passed through him. Removed didn't sound like forgetting. It sounded like erasing something that happened while it was still happening. He looked at her more carefully now. Who controls it? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked past him, like something behind him was listening. Then she whispered, "You don't ask that question here." Footsteps approached. Immediate, precise. She stepped back instantly. Expression gone. Blank. Reset. A man passed between them. No acknowledgement. No reaction. But the air changed again. He felt it. That pressure. Watching. Measuring. When the man disappeared down the corridor, she didn't look at him anymore, but she spoke again, quietly, carefully. "You're not supposed to remember me like this." That line didn't make sense. Not yet, but it stayed. Before he could ask anything else, she turned and walked away. Perfect rhythm, perfect silence, like nothing had ever happened. But he knew something had happened, something that wasn't allowed to exist. And that was the first time he understood something deeper. Not everything that happens here is allowed to remain real. That night he tried to remember her face, but the memory felt unstable, like it was trying to fade on purpose. And somewhere in the house, something noticed that he was still holding on to it. The next cycle started earlier than usual, or maybe it didn't start at all. Time here never felt reliable anymore, just continuous motion pretending to be time. He found himself assigned to a different section of the house. Upper corridors, places fewer people went, places that felt forgotten. The silence up there was heavier, not because it was louder, but because it felt deeper, like sound had been buried there for a long time. And then he saw her again, but something was different this time. She wasn't standing still. She was waiting, intentionally. "Follow me," she said. No explanation, no hesitation, just certainty. He didn't move at first. Something inside him resisted, but not fear, confusion, because people here didn't initiate actions. They responded. Still, he followed. She led him through narrow corridors, places he had never seen before, even though the house itself never seemed to change. That contradiction unsettled him. Doors passed by without handles, windows that showed nothing outside, and paintings that looked slightly off. Same faces again, but now the eyes followed them. He stopped once. She didn't, but she spoke without turning. "You're noticing it again?" "Noticing what?" he asked. She finally looked back. Not fully, just enough. "The layers." He frowned. "Layers?" She nodded slightly. "Most people only see the first one." That line hit strangely. First layer, like the house wasn't one place, but many stacked on top of each other. They stopped near a closed section of hallway. No markings, no signs, just a door that felt heavier than it should have. "You don't go beyond this point," she said. He looked at her. "Why?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she said, "Because that's where remembering starts." A pause, long enough to feel intentional. "You remember things?" he asked carefully. She didn't respond immediately. "Then, I remember too much." That sentence didn't sound like a confession. It sounded like a warning. For a moment, she looked tired. Not physically, mentally. Like holding awareness here came at a cost. Then her expression reset again. Not fully cold, but controlled, carefully controlled. "You asked me before why I'm different." He nodded slowly. She stepped closer, lowered her voice. "Because I don't reset properly." He didn't understand at first. Then it clicked. His stomach tightened. "You mean, you remember everything?" She didn't confirm, but she didn't deny it either. That silence was enough. Footsteps echoed somewhere below. Immediate shift. She straightened instantly. Distance returned. Control restored. And in that moment, he realized something important. The house didn't just control behavior. It controlled continuity. Who stays the same, and who doesn't. Before he could speak again, she turned away. But this time, slower, like something inside her was resisting the reset. "One more thing," she said without looking back. He waited. "If you ever reach the top floor alone," she paused, just slightly. "Don't trust what you see first." Then she walked away. Perfect rhythm again, almost, but not entirely. Something in her steps was slightly delayed. He stood there long after she disappeared, thinking, not about what she said, but about what she almost said. Because now he knew she wasn't just different. She was broken in a way the system hadn't fixed yet. And that meant one thing. She was either a mistake or a key. That day, something changed in the atmosphere, not visibly, but internally, like the house had shifted its attention, not on everyone, just on him. He noticed it during routine work. People weren't avoiding him the same way. They were aware of him, as if he had become slightly more important than before. And that was never a good sign here. Then the woman appeared again. Same corridor, same stillness. But this time, she didn't wait for him to approach. She walked toward him, directly. "You're being observed more closely now," she said quietly. He frowned. "By who?" She didn't answer immediately, just looked at him for a moment too long, then said, "By the system." That word again. System. It didn't feel like a place or a person. It felt like something everywhere. He tried to stay calm. "What did I do?" She tilted her head slightly. "You didn't forget fast enough." A chill went through him, not understanding, but feeling the weight of it. Before he could respond, she stepped closer. Her voice dropped, lower than before, controlled. "Careful. Listen to me carefully." He nodded. "If I tell you something now, you won't remember it the same way later." He frowned. "What do you mean?" But she didn't explain. Instead, she simply said, "Take me upstairs." He froze. That sentence didn't belong in this moment. It felt inserted, like it had been waiting to be spoken. "Why?" he asked. She didn't answer, just repeated it, calmly. "Take me upstairs." Something in him resisted, not fear, confusion, because orders here were never emotional. But this one felt personal. Still, he moved, slowly. He lifted her. She felt lighter than before, almost unreal. And the moment he did, the entire house shifted, not physically, but silently. The background noise disappeared. Even breathing around him felt muted, like the world had paused just to watch this moment. He stepped forward. First step, then second. Her grip tightened slightly. "Don't stop," she whispered. His heartbeat slowed, not from calm, but from pressure, like something unseen was pressing down on him with every step. Halfway through the corridor, he noticed something strange. No one was moving anymore, not downstairs, not anywhere. They were all still, watching, or waiting. He couldn't tell. "Why is everyone like this?" he asked quietly. She didn't look at him. "Because you're being tested." "Tested for what?" Silence. Too long. Then she finally said, "To see if you remember wrong, or remember too much." That sentence didn't make sense. But it didn't need to. It felt like truth in this place. The stairs came into view. Dark, older than the rest of the house. Like they didn't belong here. He stopped for half a second. She noticed, and immediately tightened her grip. "Don't think," she said softly. "Just move." So he did. First step on the stairs. The wood creaked, but the sound didn't echo. It just disappeared. Second step. The air changed. Heavier. Slower. Third step. He felt it. Eyes, not behind him. Everywhere. Watching. Measuring. Waiting. And somewhere deep inside him, a thought formed, not fully clear yet, but growing. This is not a house. The moment he stepped fully onto the stairs, something in the house changed. Not loudly, not suddenly, but like reality itself adjusted its focus. The silence became heavier, not empty, pressurized, like the house was now holding its breath. He climbed slowly, one step, then another. Each movement felt slightly delayed, like the world was reacting after him instead of with him. The woman in his arms didn't move, not even a shift in weight. Too still, too controlled, almost like she wasn't fully there anymore. "Don't look down," she said softly. Her voice was calm again, but it carried something else underneath. Urgency. He didn't ask why. He just obeyed. That was becoming natural here. Too natural. Halfway up the stairs, he heard it. A sound, faint, downstairs. Footsteps, but not chaotic. Perfectly synchronized. Like multiple people walking in the exact same rhythm. He paused, just for a second. The footsteps stopped too. Instantly. He swallowed, and continued. The stairs felt longer now. Impossible length, like they were stretching upward the more he climbed. "Why does this feel wrong?" he asked quietly. No answer. Instead, the silence changed again. Not broken, just aware. He reached the turning point of the stairs. The place where you can see both up and down. And that's when he felt it fully. Eyes from below, not directly visible, but present everywhere. He didn't turn, but he knew. Everyone downstairs was looking at him. Perfectly still, perfectly aligned. The woman finally spoke again, barely above a whisper. "You're almost there." "Almost where?" he asked. No response. Just a slight tightening of her grip, like a reminder or a warning. Another step, then another, and then it happened. A memory, not visual, but emotional. A sudden feeling of déjà vu so strong it almost stopped him. He had been here before. Not just this house, not just these stairs. This exact moment. His breathing slowed. Confusion rising. "No, this isn't right," he whispered. The woman didn't react, but her voice came softer, calmer, almost rehearsed. "You always say that here." That line hit differently, like it wasn't spoken for the first time, like it had been said many times before. He reached the top landing and stopped. The hallway stretched ahead, long, dim, unnaturally symmetrical, and on the walls, portraits. Again. But now he noticed something new. Same faces, different frames, but identical eyes, all empty, all watching. He took a step forward, then stopped again. At the end of the hallway, a door. Oh, heavier than anything else in the house. And beneath it, light, faint, alive. "Don't look at that," she said immediately. Too quickly, too sharply. He turned slightly. "Why?" No answer, just silence. But it wasn't passive anymore. It was tense, like something was holding back. The door creaked, very slightly. From inside, his body went still, not by choice, by instinct. "Did you hear that?" he asked. She didn't respond, but her grip loosened slightly. That was new. The door creaked again, a little more. And then he saw it, the smallest gap, between door and frame. And inside, movement. Not clear, not defined, but definitely there. People, standing, still, facing the door, facing him. He stepped back slightly, his heart finally reacting. "What is this place?" he whispered. For the first time, she hesitated, then softly said, "This is where the system remembers itself." A pause, heavy, and then, "The room you're not supposed to see." The door opened another inch, and he looked. The door didn't open fully. It didn't need to. That small gap was enough. He looked inside, and instantly, his mind resisted what his eyes were seeing. Not fear, not shock. Something deeper. Rejection. The room was large, but not empty. People stood inside, perfectly still, perfectly aligned, facing him. Same posture, same expression, same emptiness in their eyes, like they had been waiting for this exact moment. Not reacting, not surprised, just waiting. He stepped back instinctively. His grip on her tightened without realizing. "What is this?" he whispered. She didn't answer immediately. For the first time, her control slipped slightly, just for a moment. Then she said, "You're looking at the part of the house that doesn't reset." He frowned. "Doesn't reset?" She nodded slowly. "Everything else repeats." A pause. "But this remembers everything." A cold feeling spread through his chest. Everything. "What everything?" She didn't respond directly. Instead, she looked at the room again, like she was afraid of it. Then whispered, "All cycles, all versions, all of you." That sentence broke something inside his understanding. He turned back to the room, looked again, harder this time, and then he noticed it. Small details. Some faces looked slightly familiar, not fully, but emotionally familiar, like déjà vu buried deep in memory. One man in the corner was standing exactly like him. Same posture, same hesitation, same fear. His breath slowed. "No," he whispered. The woman tightened her grip again. "Don't try to understand it too fast," she said. But it was too late. Something was already forming in his mind. Connections, patterns, loops. "You said cycles," he muttered. She nodded. "How many?" Silence. That silence answered everything without words. The door creaked wider again, this time more clearly, and the room inside shifted slightly. Not physically, but like awareness had increased. Every person inside now felt aware of him all at once. He stepped back further, But the corridor behind him felt longer now, like escape was no longer distance-based. "You shouldn't be seeing this," she said quietly. "Then why am I?" he asked. She hesitated again, this time longer, then said, "Because you're reaching the point where remembering becomes unavoidable." A pause. "And when that happens—" She stopped, didn't finish, but she didn't need to. The room inside the door moved again, not stepping, not walking, just shifting attention. Toward him, all at once, every pair of eyes locked. He felt it, not pressure, not fear, recognition, like they had seen him before, many times before. The woman suddenly pulled him back. "Now," she said urgently, "don't stay here." For the first time, her voice broke slightly. Not control, not calm. Urgency, real urgency. He turned away instinctively. But as he did, he heard it. A whisper. Not from behind, not from inside. Everywhere. Again. His steps froze. The woman pulled him harder. Move. And he moved. But as he left the hallway, one final thing stayed behind. The door didn't close. And inside the room, one of the figures had turned its head directly toward him, and it was smiling. He didn't sleep that night, not because he couldn't, but because something inside him refused to reset into sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the room, the people inside, the eyes, that smile. And worst of all, he felt like it wasn't the first time. Morning came without warning. No sunrise, no transition, just sudden continuation. The house was normal again. Perfect, silent, controlled, like nothing had happened. But he knew better now. He moved through the corridors carefully, watching everything, trying to find signs of what he saw yesterday. But there were none. The house was clean, too clean, like memory had been scrubbed from reality itself. Then he saw her again, the woman, standing near the corridor. Same place, same stillness. But this time, she looked different. Not physically, but in presence, weaker, tired. "You shouldn't be remembering this much," she said softly. He stopped. So it wasn't a dream. She shook her head slightly. "No." A pause. "None of it is." Silence. Heavy again. He looked around. "Why does everything reset except me?" She hesitated, then said, "Because something is breaking." His chest tightened. "What is breaking?" She looked at him for a long time, longer than before, then finally said, "The system is losing control over your memory." A chill spread through him. "And when that happens?" he asked. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked down the corridor, like listening to something distant, then whispered, "They replace you." Before he could respond, footsteps came from behind. He turned. A man was standing there. Same uniform, same expression, same emptiness, but something was off. The man looked at him directly. No avoidance, no delay, just focus. Then he spoke, for the first time. "Take me upstairs." The exact words. Same tone, same structure, same cycle. The woman stepped back slowly. Not fear, understanding. And then she said it again, quietly, almost resigned. "Take him upstairs." The man didn't hesitate. He stepped forward and lifted her, exactly like before, exactly like him. And in that moment, it hit him fully. This wasn't a house. It wasn't a system. It was a loop, a cycle that never ended, only rotated. He watched them go to the stairs, step by step, same rhythm, same silence. And as they climbed, he realized something horrifying. He wasn't the first. He wasn't the second. He wasn't even special. He was just the version that remembered too late. The woman turned her head slightly as she was carried up, just enough to meet his eyes. And for the first time, her expression wasn't controlled. It was almost sad. Then she whispered something, barely audible, but enough. "You'll understand again." And they disappeared upstairs. The house returned to silence. Perfect silence. Controlled silence. And he stood there, still, waiting, because now he understood the truth. He wasn't trapped in the house. He was trapped in the repetition of himself. And somewhere above, the next cycle had already begun.